Hello, everybody, and we're live. Mike's slightly picking his nose. Welcome to
Scratching
today's
my nose.
LinkedIn Live.
Find my friend.
Welcome to
Nose.
today's LinkedIn
I'm lying
Live.
and I haven't even said anything yet. Unbelievable.
Yes. So today I'm joined by obviously that silver fox to that side, whichever that side is, Big Mike, and also joined by Martin Drake, who Mike will be introducing in just a weird moment. But hello, Martin.
Hi.
So yeah, today we're just going to give it a couple of minutes so that people can sort of log on and see us. But it's going to be a good show today. I'm looking forward to it.
We're going to do exactly, let me just bring that up actually. Let me just show that bad boy. We are going to do how to be your client's #1 supplier. And I think that there's an advantage that we both have, Martin and I. We have something in common. Actually, Martin's a recruiter now. He'll introduce himself in a second, but we've both been on the other side of the fence. We've both used agencies, a lot of them, to do recruitment for us. I used to run an agency management business. And I tell you, as soon as they know that you give requirements out, you're inundated. So I think I've been pitched to more times than the 18th green at Carnoustie. Not even joking. So, and Martin's got a similar kind of tale. So Martin, give us just a 5 seconds, probably more than that, introduction to yourself.
Yeah, no worries. So Martin Drake, my background is 10 years in recruitment, and then spent 6 years in internal recruitment and in HR, and then returned back to the world of recruitment. So I've kind of seen all sides of it.
Wow. Well, I'm woefully underqualified to be on today's panel because we have two very experienced people and me, which is means I can just be the layman. So
are you qualified to be the hostess with the mostess, though?
Well, of course I am. Look at me. I'm adorable. Okay, let's crack on. So the first thing is Martin, from your experience, you must have knowledge of what you really don't like from recruitment companies when you're internal. What would you say is the biggest thing that you dislike?
Probably the number one is the lack of appreciation that you're there doing your job every day, and they think you're just there at their beck and call. So the barrage of, I used to get, everyone thinks from a recruitment side they're the only one sending a speculative CV or cold calling you that day. I would generally get 15 to 20 spec emails per day with candidate information on. Then the calls on top of that, 10 of those before your first cup of tea, and then having the job to do. And notoriously, HR are actually in a lot of meetings and quite hard to get hold of. So that's kind of the bugbear. It's the lack of appreciation that the person you're trying to get hold of has a day job to do, not just to be there to respond to your emails or your calls or your shortlist that you've sent over.
So it's that lack of thought about you and what you experience, I guess.
It's down to really, and I get this, by the way, agents have got to make money. Consultants have got to make money. They make money making placements, right? Simple as. So the most important thing in their world is to get their CV looked at or their interview arranged or to close that deal. Absolutely. And I totally 100% understand that. But you absolutely will not endear yourself to someone who's massively busy, probably got another job to do as well as look at your CVs or take your phone calls. And then you're hassling them about stuff that they really don't want to talk about. Don't do that thing, is my advice.
Okay, so what happens if there are people out there who are watching, as I'm sure there are many, who are going, well, I don't do that. I appreciate from my client's point of view that, I'm different. I'm different to everybody else out there. Mine, what would you say to those people?
There's that. That's even, maybe that even might be a bigger bugbear. The cold call, hi, we're different. You're not different. You're telling me exactly the same information that every other recruiter will tell me. And I think back in the day, probably one of the differentiators used to be say, well, we've got the biggest database. Well, everyone's got access to the world's biggest database just by logging in. It's called LinkedIn. So people have that. Where I think people can differentiate themselves is really through the caliber, the quality of their call, their ability to build up relationships. And that takes time. That can't be a kind of a one call trick pony. That you can only get the proof in the pudding from building up a relationship by taking time to do it, foster it over a period of time.
I think you're right, actually, massively so. There's a difference between cold calling for jobs, which is like, have you got a job? No, well, I'm off then. versus cold calling to start a relationship. There is a world of difference between those two. And you can always tell the difference between those two approaches, because one tends to be more courteous. Is it okay to speak for a minute? Are you busy? Okay, when's a better time for me to give you a call back then? They don't train you to do that, because once you've got them, you've got to stick them. You might not get them again. On the other side, no, I'm doing this report. I've just got someone come to see me. No, I don't want to talk to you. If you've been polite and say, well, when can I call back? I would say, yeah, you can try me this afternoon or something. But no, steamroller in, because again, not really thinking about their world. But also, it's, do you take an interest? How much do you know about that firm? Someone said to me, if you want to sell to construction companies, you better know the price of a bag of cement. And what they really meant was you better know the world that these people live in, because if you don't, you can't communicate with them. You become a one-dimensional requirement getter. And that's all you'll ever be forever. If you want the work to come to you, you've got to be a bit more relationship driven, haven't you?
Can I just share something? There was a kind of a kind of post that we used to kind of feed into in the last agency I was in, and it was just statistics. It was how many sales were won on the first call, and it was like 3%. How many are won on the second call? 8%, and it would continue up, and it got to how many won on the 20th call. 97% of business is won on the, that far down the line. And what a lot of recruiters fall into the trap of is, like you said, it's just a kind of, have you got a job? Please, come on, move on. I'm not going to even give you any time if that's going to be your only gambit. You need to kind of spend that time getting to know the organizations, the people that you're talking to, what are their pains, what's the business going through, and that takes time. And it's over that period of time that you're going to get more success by having those relationships. And like you said, Mike, knowing the business and having that credibility that you know what you're talking about as well. And that's proved over time.
Well, I used to run an agency management business in the 90s. And one of the best calls that we ever had was someone that rang up and said, well, we've looked at what you do. We know you deal at this company, that company, and the other company. And that wasn't common because we didn't publicize it. We know you look at these kind of requirements, and we want to talk to you because we think we can help you in certain parts. Well, okay. Well, all right then. How do you think you can do that then? It was just different. And they also didn't go for everything. They didn't try and be the answer to everything. And they were very specific. And I remember them specifically because over a period of time that we dealt with them, they became our biggest agency. Yeah. And it started with that. Well, we can't help you with everything, but we do this and we do it really well. Can we talk about it? And I've obviously researched the company and I know what you do and I know it's organized. Can we talk? Makes a massive difference.
Yeah. Really. Alex has said something which I think is sort of relevant here, is that it's about understanding your client and their drivers, understanding why somebody wants to go and get somebody into new recruitments, why somebody is buying from you. And I think that's a really good point from Alex. Yeah,
it is. Yeah. I mean, I think there is, that you learn, listen, learn, and act upon what you discover. And you don't necessarily with them, but you can do your research. And then when you listen to them, they will tell you. Have you ever had that thing, Martin, where people, you tell them and they, I got that. And then they just send you what they want to send you. Yeah. It's like, you didn't listen. You didn't pay any attention to what I just said.
But they did, Mike, because they're different, as we spoke about.
As we all know.
When I partnered with an agency on a vacancy, I always used to go to real extent to say, okay, this is about the business. Don't just look at the website. I'll provide you with plenty of content and information about what we do, what our story is, that you can then articulate back to the candidates. And then when the candidates had turned up, you say, so what do you know about us? I've been on the website. Right. So the agency actually hasn't done and I used to quiz on how good the service was from the agency as almost a reference on, okay, have that agency done their job and are they justifying their fee that they're telling us, or have they just slapdash, cut corners, tried to kind of do it as simplistic?
Do you think there's an irony here, right? Because it's like my gran used to, God rest her soul, used to have a little saying that she'd say, as we were late for school and she was taking me, more haste, less speed. And I think there's that thing, well, the more I do, the more I get stuff out there and do things, the more money I'm going to make. And I do not think that's true at all. You've got to have a good work rate. Yes. You've got to execute. Yeah, of course. But actually take less, do less, but do it better and get it over the line. make sure you've got the right candidates, brief them properly so they understand what they're going into, make sure the client's set up. It takes longer, but you'll get so much more from it, because that's a real hatred of mine, there's just a lack of quality in everything. I mean, you were saying earlier, Martin, about people sending you CVs that didn't relate to the requirement, and then candidates that didn't relate to the bloody CV. It's a nightmare, isn't it?
Yeah, completely. I think, again, another one of my kind of irritations is you'll get a shortlist, and I don't know if this is fed down through kind of management culture in certain agencies, but they'd send kind of 5, 6 CVs, and actually only 2 or 3 of them were probably worth seeing. But it was almost they had to send you a volume or an amount of CVs to fill a quota that they felt was justifying their job. I would much rather be the recipient of 1 or 2 that were bang on the money, rather than just kind of fit. I think they call them filler CVs of kind of just not hitting them out.
That sounds true. But again, it's that understanding that you want less because you still have a day job to do. You still have all these other things, and you don't care about how many CVs. You just want one if it's the right CV, right? And you want them to understand exactly what it is that you require. Again, in that relationship you build, you spend time understanding what somebody needs in order to give them exactly what they want. So when it comes down to that, what do you think the biggest issue is around quality? Do you think it's just they're uninformed? Do you think that it's lazy, that they are trying to do, a job that they don't really understand what it is? Because recruitment's changed a lot. In the 90s, I know it was a bit different, because that was when Mike had his first company. So I remember that. There's a lot less relationship. There's a lot less quality involved. Why do you think that is?
Is there a box, all of the above?
I can type one in quickly. Hang on.
I honestly do think it's partly the pressure of hitting KPIs. Get this done as quick as I can, because I've got to kind of move on to the next target that I've got to reach on the board. Otherwise, my manager's going to have a go at me. Rather than going, okay, let's focus on doing one task really well. And I think this perpetuates to people in all walks of life about, you're doing something, your email pops up, so you go over there. You need to kind of focus on just doing one thing really, really well.
I think you've nailed it there. I think it's endemic. It starts endemically with the company that you work for. If you're a recruitment consultant, if they're massively KPI driven, and it's that macho 90s bullshit, really, with the braces and hey, who's at top of the board? There was one company back in the 90s. I learned this the other day. I didn't know. At Friday afternoon, they'd sacked the bottom of the leaderboard. Last Friday in the week, sacked the bottom of the leaderboard. Oh yeah, you're out. Go, gone. So, and all that does is encourage massive shortcuts. If you want people to provide a quality service, measure and reward quality, because ultimately you'll make much more money that way, like significantly amounts more money if you do that. If you measure people on how many phone calls, CVs they get across, well, you're measuring the wrong things. I know why you're doing it, because it's work rate, but you can manage work rate in a completely different way, like a proper manager can manage it. But this is about quality. And I'm with you. As soon as someone came to me and said, right, well, here's my CV, this is the right one. And when you look at it, blow me down, it is. They've actually found someone that ticks the boxes that you need. And then when you interview them, the CV happens to match what that person is when they arrive. Yeah. Of course, why wouldn't I want that?
I remember working in an agency where we were targeted on number of client visits that we did. And somebody joined from a big, kind of one of the big global agencies. And she was top of the board of kind of every week, 15, 20 visits on the board. And but no, she didn't bill. So what are you doing? And then I kind of made a point of kind of listening, and I was kind of like, so, and she just ring up and say, hi, I'm in the area. Can I just bob by with some information? And then all she would do is turn up, give them a brochure and leave. And I'm like, so what are you doing? Like, you post it, email it. You're not even asking questions to get information. You're not building a relationship in any way there. You're just hitting you're top of the leaderboard of that target, but it's wasting your time and everyone else's.
Yeah. That's the big problem with KPIs, though, if used badly, isn't it?
Yeah. So do you think that kind of that relationship building aspect that starts at the top of a company? So in a recruitment, that culture is created by the owner and the board or whatever, and that trickles down? Do you think that as an owner of a recruitment company, should that be your focus, to explain to people that this isn't about, you know, how many calls you make, it's not about how many times you're on site, it's about how strong are your relationships with your network?
Yeah, I understand, especially when you bring in rookies and new recruits, that you have to measure them in some regard. But you know, let's flip the ratios around a bit, or the KPIs rather. How many times have you called a client that you've called previously? You know, almost kind of, rather than just a cold call, let's do, like, you know, let's smash out 200 calls each week. Why don't we look at how many times have you re-rang an old organization that you spoke to 6 months ago or a year ago, and focus on that? You know, go smaller, but invest more time and effort in a smaller.
Do less and get more. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me give some data, right? In this, and this is old data, so it's the start of last year, so it may have changed. But there are approximately 40,000 recruitment companies in this country. 20,000 of them are effectively one-man bands, right? The top 100 account for half of the recruitment spend in this country, 24 billion pounds in the top 100 companies, right? So then you've got the next 850. I might get these figures wrong. The next 850, I think, accounts for 10 billion. And then everybody else is 14 billion shared out. So it's tiny amounts, right? Why is that, do you think? I mean, we all do the same thing. Why can't everybody be as big as Michael Page? It's because you can get a business to a certain size by, let's smash it. Let's break that. We got this, Peloton. I really hate that expression. Anyway, yeah, you can do it, but then you can't scale it because it's entirely driven on using KPIs as a management tool rather than a personal development tool. Completely different. I'm okay with KPIs. Looks like I'm slagging them off, but you can grow a business to a certain size by taking that aggressive attitude, but then to take it to the next level, it's very much more difficult, really difficult. If you go down the quality routes, if you build a business which is based on quality, listening to what the client says, how they like to work, even giving them some preferences. So we used to let people in our clients have different formats of CV. You could tell us what formatted you wanted, and we would give it you in that format because our computer system allowed us to do that. I think they all do. That level of customization and listening in detail makes you feel special. Then when you make sure that your CVs and the people you're sending match, kind of helps, right? And then when the person turns up, they're exactly what you thought they were going to be. And you manage that process with just keeping your promises. Basic human decency, really. Do you know what? You're looking for a way to stand out. That's it. You don't have to, you know, do anything fancy. You just have to do that. You just have to do that over and over and over again. And then do you know what? I'll tell you what will happen. The clients will look at your CVs first. They've got a big batch of them. They'll open your email first, even if it's 10th down the list. They'll look at yours first. When there's a choice between two, they'll go with you. Because, you know, they're pretty much the same, but I'm going with you, Mike. You're the one that's going to get the heads up, say, oh, we've got some requirements coming out next week. Just thought I'd give you a heads up, it's this. So you're on it 3 or 4 days before. That comes from quality of product and quality of service. Was that a rant, Kirsty?
I think it was borderline a rant. I think we could just, at the moment,
feel so passionate about it.
We can pass that off.
Man. Yeah, the secret to success and lots of money. Same. That's it, really.
A lot of people are agreeing with you.
Well, just on your point, what that also leads to is usually exclusivity. So by you delivering on that consistency, that quality, rather than just being the first point of call, often, certainly in my case where I kind of sit now, is I am the only point of call, which is a fantastic, you know, you'd much rather be that than in a dogfight with other agencies. And even if you've got a head start, it's a better place to kind of be the only one than one of.
Yeah.
100%.
I mean, what I'm getting from both of you really is that this comes from, it's not a quick interaction. Nothing is quick in recruitment to do it well. It takes time to not only understand what it is about what that client actually wants. So, you know, if they're saying this is the draft I want and you've got a CV that doesn't quite match it, but you think, no, this person will be able to do it. If you've built that relationship well and understood them and they understand you, that you've got that trust, which is, I think, really what it comes down to building, is the relationship builds trust that you think this person's going to be able to do the job that I actually want them to do that I can't do myself. Is that right?
I mean, and rapport. I mean, have a personality. It takes some time to get to know them, because if you show the real you, and hopefully that's not too bad, when you show the real you. They'll show their version of the real them, and that's where that relationship begins. People buy from those they like, trust, and feel valued by, don't they? They're mates, really. Yeah. And if you just ring up looking for requirements, you ain't going to be one of their mates. You will get requirements, for sure you will. Normally the ones that either you're lucky and just got it at the right time, awesome, or actually the ones that no one else can fill. Good luck with that then, right? Make friends with them, get on their side, and over a period of time you will be their first choice supplier. I guarantee it. Guaranteed.
Yeah, I think again though, personality is what builds relationships, right? Having a personality and getting on with someone
really,
build that relationship. Okay, so in a second, I'm just gonna round up because we're coming kind of to the end of this. I'm gonna round up what I think we've spoken about today. But as usual in this Mike Ames show, I like to come away with. I like you guys. Put my teeth back in. I like everyone watching to come away with something that is tangible that they can do, that they can implement now. So in a second, Martin, in a second, Mike, I'm going to be coming to you guys for one kind of final tip for those people watching about what they can do.
Could I be a bit cheeky as well? Because we have got like a few minutes left. Could I ask people to put in the comments what they've taken so far from this? Could I ask that? I know that's not my place to ask it.
Yeah. If you guys...
My show, but you wouldn't think so, would you?
It's not really. I'm in the middle. It's all me.
Yeah. I'll make sure you're in the middle.
Yeah. So what I've gathered really is that this comes down to really understanding your client. It comes across as being different in that you're not transactional. You're taking the time to understand that you actually are different, not just saying that you are, because you understand what it is the client wants, what's driving them. You're taking the time to build a relationship. You are focusing on quality. You're focusing on that trust, and you're focusing on that rapport. And that is the way that you build a healthy relationship, and that your end clients will actually appreciate you and not just think, I don't have anything to tell you, go away, which is not really what I'm imagining. Okay, so perfect. So Martin, can you give everybody watching sort of their one final tip that you think, do this, it will make a difference?
Yeah, for me, the thing that kind of will differentiate you is delivering on a candidate pool that the client can't get through their own actions. So, so many agencies I see that, so when I was in-house, you put a vacancy up, and I've seen it in agency side where you'll put a vacancy, or a company will do, and the consultants will just scroll the job boards and try and ring and get that job on. And from a client side, you say, look, respect that we've just put an advert out. We want to see the how we get on with our own activities before paying you to deliver on potentially the same shortlist. Where the value comes in how you can differentiate is your knowledge of your sector or your specialism, and delivering that candidate pool that they couldn't get just by putting an advert out.
Perfect. I think that's a really
awesome point. That one. What a great way to finish. Brilliant.
Really strong point. And Mike, I'm coming to you. Do you have a final one? I know that you do.
All of the above, as Martin said earlier, quality and relationships for sure. But here's the thing, a simple tip that you can just do is that contact people even when there's no work and talk to them, right? So a lot of the times account management, when I talk about account management with my clients, it basically is I'll contact them if I've got a job with them, I'm going to try and get a job with them, or there's some kind of problem I need to sort out, right? No, just ring up and ask how they are, or give them something. I've just found this bit of research. Would you like it? Anything really, just to have a relationship building conversation. And don't at the end of it say, oh, I've got no requirements, because you've just undone the whole of that conversation has been wiped out completely. It's like saying but, one of Kirsty's hot favorites really. Say but, I'm just going to undo everything I've just said then. It's exactly the same, right? Massively so. And I think if you just treat people as people. I'll just end on this. I know I've got a couple of comments coming in, which I'm sure you'll bring up, Kirsty, but let me end on this, right? Is that if you had a friend and all they did was ring you up when they wanted something, how would you feel about them, and would you want them as a friend? Because quite often on our side of the fence, that's how it feels. You just want me for the money that I can give you. And I understand that. I get it, right? But actually you can get so much more if you just treat me like a human being, a person. It'll work, I promise. Yeah,
I think that's an excellent point as well. Got just a comment there. Apparently that sounds like someone's so I'm leaving that, taking it off now. But Sam's come up and said that the big thing that she's taken away is that personalized recruitment, which is something that I think it's been stressed repeatedly throughout this whole episode, is that make sure you actually do what your client wants. And to do that, you need to listen to them to find out what it is.
And customization, we'll have a separate show on customization. That is a little secret that not a lot of people bother with. You can customize so much, makes clients feel so important if you do that. Yeah. Nice one, Sam. Thank you for that.
And then I love Stuart's one as well, which is, again, just focusing on that trust, which is based around around the relationship. So, I mean, I think that's been a very successful show, guys. I really enjoyed it.
Well, I did too. When's the wine coming, though? You said if I was on the show today, I'd get wine. I don't seem to have seen any wine.
I got that message as well.
Oh, Kirsty, is it time to end the show then?
There will be wine later for all involved. But thank you so much to everybody for watching. Thank you very much for Martin, who's come in here. He's been great. He's given us a lot of value and a lot to think about. So thank you so much, Martin, for joining us. Mike, you were here.
I think next week as well. I think we're doing mental health, aren't we? I think that's what we're doing. Is it mental health?
I think so.
I think it is. Yeah, you'll see that there anyway. I'm pretty certain it is. We should know this, really, shouldn't we?
We should come out. We're professionals, don't you know? And then we've got this final thing: quality over quantity and relationship building.
For sure. Yeah, go for it.
Thank you so much for that.
Excellent.
So as always, we will be back next week at 12:30 on Thursday. So hopefully you'll tune in then. But as we say at Flair, if you want it, go and get it, and we'll all see you next time.
Take care.